Comrade, the press, on behalf of the coalition of Nigerian civil society organizations, I'd like to welcome important press conference. Better. So, we're welcoming you to this press conference on the unconstitutional declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. Civil society groups in Nigeria have come together to provide joint responses to the state of emergency declared in Rivers State. We welcome you to this World Press Conference to address the recent and highly disturbing developments in Rivers State. On the 18th of March 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, suspended the democratically elected governor and the State House of Assembly members, and appointed an administrator to govern the state for 6 months in the first instance. To perpetrate this assault on our country's constitution, the president relied on Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution as amended as justification for the draconian declaration. This is a blatant misrepresentation of the Constitution. Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution outlines the process for declaring a state of emergency, which must be done in accordance with the due constitutional procedures and with the proper checks and balances. However, nowhere in these sections or in any other part of the Constitution is the President granted the power to suspend duly elected officials or impose an unelected administrator. The Constitution remains the supreme law of the land, and any action inconsistent with it is null, void, and of no effect. The declaration of a state of emergency must not be a pretext for subverting democracy or bypassing constitutional governance. We categorically state that this action by the president is not only ultra-vires, but also constitutes a dangerous precedent that threatens the consolidation of Nigeria's democracy. No provision under our constitutional democracy grants the president the unilateral power to remove elected state officials and impose an unelected administrator. This move is an illegality that was never envisaged by the drafters of our Constitution. After the President's anti-constitutional declaration was made, the only path that was then available in the immediate redress of this grievous constitutional breach was for the National Assembly. Nigerians expected that the National Assembly would rise stoutly in defense of our democracy by rejecting the President's action and restoring the governor of the state, the deputy governor, and the State House of Assembly. But in the bizarre move, barely 24 hours after the unconstitutional onslaught against the people of Rivers State, and indeed Nigerians, the National Assembly chose to endorse the President's illegality and overreach, and it did so in a brazen manner, devoid of the least bit of transparency and accountability, by opting for the nebulous voice vote against a more transparent vote count to determine the two-thirds majority of votes needed to endorse the President's action. Even if the National Assembly had mustered the necessary two-thirds majority vote to endorse the President's declaration, it would have been a nullity, an endorsement of an illegality, because it is right saying that you cannot build something on nothing. you cannot sanctify an illegality with a seeming legality. This reckless disregard for due process by the National Assembly raises serious concerns about the independence of the legislature and its commitment to upholding democracy. This is indeed troubling, as it signposts elects conspiracy for state capture, which spells doom for democratic growth and development. There is no doubt this action by the President signals a clear and present danger to the nation state if allowed, and constitutes a very clear departure from constitutionalism and the rule of law. The complicit action of the National Assembly is coming at a time when public confidence in the judiciary and the legislature is at an all-time low. These actions or non-actions in the recent past have indicated a continuous erosion of these roles and functions in the protection of our democratic space. They increasingly seem impervious to our constitutionally defined roles of holding executive branch in check. We must remind all and sundry about the sacrifices Nigerians made in the build-up to the forced and ignominious departure of the military in 1999. It was a sacrifice made with the sweat and blood of citizens. Sadly, there is nothing till date following the march described 25 years of unbroken democracy to show that Nigerian political class has learned much needed lessons in the advancements of our democratic imperatives. This action sets a dangerous precedent that, if left unchecked, would be replicated in other states where the president deems it politically expedient. Nigeria has fought hard to sustain democracy, and we must not allow an unlawful executive overreach to erode the foundational principles of constitutional governance. The removal of elected officials and appointment of a supposed sole administrator through executive faith is reminiscent of military dictatorship, not a democracy. A democratic government is built on the rule of law, separation of powers, and the respect for constitutional authority. The president's action undermines these principles and signals a regression into authoritarian governance. Call to action. We call on the judiciary to determine the question of the constitutionality and legality of the president's action. We are not unaware of the various controversies that have continually plagued some of the judicial pronouncements of the courts, even up to the level of the Supreme Court. Nigerians in general no longer believe that the country's judges are still dispensers of justice. This negative image and impression of the courts by the citizens can only be changed by subsequent rulings of judges to reflect the need for truth, justice, and equity. However, this is an opportunity for our judiciary to rise in defense of Nigeria's constitutional democracy. Nigeria's democracy must be protected at all costs. No individual, regardless of office, is above the Constitution. The president's action in Rivers State are a grave violation of democratic norms and must be reversed without delay. We stand firm in our commitment to defending democracy, the rule of law, and constitutional governance. Therefore, we demand the immediate revocation of the emergency rule and the restoration of both the executive and legislative arms of government in Rivers State to pave the way for the implementation of the recent Supreme Court judgment. The president's action must not be allowed to stand. Thank you very much.
One. And we have also seen a situation where even federal governors like the likes of Imo and Edo State were in support of what happened in Rivers State. Sir, a lot of interest groups, majority of Nigerians are saying no to the illegality. Now that all this is, and yet anyone that dares talk about or acknowledge the declaration the presidency attacks through their aides. Now, after everything, sir, and the president refuses to reverse the declaration, what next? Thank you.
Citizens are the architects of the society they deserve. We, as representatives of citizens of this country, who are patriotic, who are ready and committed to defend constitutional rule in this country, will continue to mobilize Nigerians to do the right thing. And the right thing is to reject any unconstitutional action, whether by the president, whether by the National Assembly, or whether supported by any state governor or governors in this country. So we will continue to organize and to mobilize and to protest this action that is not in consonance with our Constitution.
They occupy an office, then they become emperors, and then they can do whatever. They behave like mini gods. But this, what is happening now, is a strong signal to Nigerians that, look, we must watch, we must wake up, we must be careful, we must be alert to our responsibility of deciding, making the appropriate choice of who governs us. And that is why we say that whether if whatever happens, whether this emergency rule is reversed or not, it has sent a very strong message to Nigerians to say that Nigerians must wake up. And for we in the civil society, what it also means to us is that we must strengthen our mobilization and organizing of the civil society in preparation for the future. We are not going to take the laws into our hands. We are law-abiding citizens. We are going to work according to law and the Constitution, constitutional provisions, but we are going to do that and ensure that this kind of Nigeria is taken back to the citizens of Nigeria, and that the rule of law must be the guiding principles of governance. And so whether they take it back or they don't take it back, it's going to strengthen our organization and mobilization strategy for the future. And this future is very, very close. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are saying that we stand to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What the president has done is uncalled for. The issue in Rivers is something that we have a minister who is under the president, whom he cannot call to order. The minister is working in FCT and is doing well. He needs to allow Rivers to be the Rivers people. Women and children are suffering. And what we are talking is, what has been introduced is the president has introduced military rule to Nigeria, and that is very, very sad. Because many of us on this table joined in struggling for democracy in Nigeria. And what we are watching out for now is that being watched before us. So the president should not say that he's not the one that introduced this. The president ought to have been seen, or maybe we perceived him to be somebody who struggled and fought for democracy. But today, what we are having is a president introducing military rule because a general is in charge of Rivers. Even when other presidents try to bring in state of emergency, which is a concern, for certain reasons, they never dismantle the power of democracy. They are able to respect the elected authority. And so we are calling on the president to reverse this and allow peace to reign. And all those who are in the assembly of Rivers, you are busy fighting. Your people elected you to be able to represent the people. And one key thing that we need to also look at is that many of those who are moving from one party to the other, we want to remind them that they never voted for their names during the elections. They voted for the parties. If you move, the provisions in the Constitution is very clear that when you move from one party to the other, the seat is declared, vacant. But we are not declaring those seats vacant. People are jubilating when they move from one party to the other. They are still holding on to their seats. The unconstitutionality of the environment or the political class is really, really sad for Nigerians. And so we call for restoration of democracy back in Rivers State, and let the governor who is elected reign in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much.